wormholes, particle physics, extra dimensions. Are the wonders of so-called reality really what they appear to be? Or do we exist in an elaborate hologram? Is our universe the result of random activity or the result of intelligent design? If a creator was involved, can we discover him through our perception of divine order? This is Into the Multiverse with Josh Peck.
Boy, I love the smell of multiverse in the morning. Welcome to Into the Multiverse. I'm your host, Josh Peck, and in studio with me, my lovely, beautiful, pregnant wife.
Oh, thank you.
Christina Peck. How are you doing?
I'm still good.
Still good,
I'm
still
still
pregnant?
good. Still pregnant.
Yeah, we're about 6 months along, 3 months to go.
Yeah, 3 months to go. 3 months from today is the due date, actually. So
Yeah. Oh, great. Well, I can't wait.
getting close.
I can't wait. It's going to be fun. Today we're talking about Denizens of the Fourth Dimension, something that we've touched on here and there in other episodes and different interviews that we've done in other outlets and things. But this will be something a little unique, I think.
yeah, definitely. From I suppose all areas of looking at it.
Yeah. Well, if this is your first time joining Into the Multiverse, welcome. We're glad to have you. If you haven't had a chance, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll have access to all past episodes as well as future ones that we do every week. If you're viewing this on YouTube, you can subscribe by clicking the little subscribe button in the bottom corner. We've made it easy for you because if you're anything like me, you need it to be that way. And but subscribing is important. Where can they find us online beyond YouTube?
Beyond YouTube. Well, you can go to Skywatch TV homepage. It's skywatchtv.com. And you can scroll down. You can see the lovely picture of Josh and I on the Into the Multiverse there, the little banner. If you click on that, that leads you right to the YouTube channel. And then if you have Roku, you can check us out on Roku and under the Skywatch TV channel.
Excellent. Yes, so make sure that you do that. So, Denizens of the Fourth Dimension. We've talked about the Fourth Dimension before on the show plenty of times. Now, when we say Fourth Dimension, at least in this episode, we're talking about the Fourth Spatial Dimension, which means the fourth dimension of space. And of course, it is correct when people say that time is the fourth dimension, and it's correct when they say the fourth dimension is a type of space.
If it's space-time, you want to put it together, you can.
Yeah, it just depends on who's talking and the preference and the context.
That's right, yeah.
But in this context, we're talking about
the space.
Yeah, the fourth dimension of space and what might actually reside there.
Mm-hmm.
So a really cool topic. I know for us, when we first started researching this years ago, it started in Jude.
Yes.
The book of Jude, which was a book that I didn't even bother reading or really knew anything about before we looked into it. But there's a lot of really important information there. We can start with Jude 1:6. Well, the whole book is one chapter, but Jude verse 6. Which says, "And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day." Easy verse to just read over and move on to the next, but there's actually a lot in there, isn't there?
Yes, there is. You and I were discussing a little while ago about your friend Jim, I should say our friend Jim Wilhelmsen.
Yeah, great researcher, great guy.
He came over for coffee.
Yep, back when we lived in Michigan.
Back when we lived in Michigan, and he was, we were talking about this very thing.
Yeah,
about
the eternal
angels.
chains of darkness and his interpretation of it, which I found really interesting. And now, Christina and I haven't had a chance to really look into this ourselves, so for us right now, it's a really cool idea, and because it's Jim, I'm sure there's something to it, but we can't say for sure that it's the God-honest, correct interpretation because we don't know.
We are all human.
But we haven't looked it up ourselves. But Jim's interpretation of this was, I guess he had gone into the Greek to look at the word chains, I think. He came away from his study, that chains may have been, and of course, he wasn't definite either. He said it may have been, a case could be made that chains might actually be, instead of referring to like heavy metallic like chains that are holding these things, in the abyss, that chains might actually be like a cycle or like a chain of events, like that type of chain.
Right.
His scenario, the way that he looked at it, is an eternal chain of darkness. Is these fallen angels get sent into darkness, into the abyss. Then somebody with a Ouija board or something conjures them up, or some occult circle or something conjures things up, and they're let loose for a while, and then a Christian comes in and casts them back, and it's just this eternal chain, this eternal cycle of bringing them up and they go back down, and So now whether that's what the Book of Jude was originally intended to mean, I don't know, but it's a really interesting interpretation.
I think that's really, kudos to him for doing the study and going into the Greek and everything, because that's incredible.
Yeah, we recorded a video with him, which I think is still on my YouTube channel. It's different than the Multiverse, channel, but I'm sure people would still be able to find it if they search for it. But yeah, really, really interesting. I think we called it Coffee with Jim.
We did.
We didn't have any coffee.
No, we did.
we
did have coffee. Yes,
okay.
we did. We had coffee with Jim. I remember. I made a nice pot of coffee.
That's right, you did. Well, moving on, because there's so much to talk about in this verse. The first part, it says, "And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation." So they kept not their first estate. They left. They had something that they left. Now, whether that's talking about just heaven, or maybe even the type of bodies that they had, the type of extra dimensional bodies that they had. There's good arguments made for both, or it could even just mean both. I mean, we have two words here, estate and habitation. But they left something. They fell from something.
Right.
Now, when we go to the book of Revelation, we find out that at some point, they're going to be cast to the earth. Revelation 12:9 says, "And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." So, in a sense, some of these things have already fallen, or they left their first estate. There's already been a type of fall that's happened, yet they're going to fall to earth. So there's some type of in between.
Caught somewhere in between there, between heaven and earth. Yeah.
And I speculate that might be the fourth spatial dimension.
That's pretty cool.
We'll get into why in a little bit. But what's interesting here in these parallel verses to this, there seems to be a correlation between stars and angels. And this is really cool. Revelation 6:13 says, "And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind." And we can compare that with Revelation 12:4. I'll let you read that one.
Okay. "And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born."
So there seems to be some type of correlation between angels and stars, because obviously the Revelation 6:13 verse, it's not talking about literal stars. If even one star, like our sun, were to fall to the earth,
that would be terrible.
It would just obliterate. It would be, that's it, end of story. No prophecy, nothing.
All done.
That's it. So it's talking about something else, and sometimes when it uses the word stars, it actually means angels, and I think that this is a good example of that. Now, what's interesting is what we talked about before. Here we read again that there's going to be another type of future falling of these things. So we know that the angels fell already,
from a higher state,
from some type of, from heaven or from grace or however you want to look at it. But there's still going to be a future falling again.
Yes.
They're going to be cast
into the earth.
Yeah, on the earth. And now what's interesting, this brings up a good question. And I know that we asked, when Dr. Michael Heiser was in the studio, we asked him, because I've wondered this. We're traditionally taught that there was an angelic rebellion, and a third of the angels were cast out of heaven because of this verse, but I'm thinking that might be a future thing. or not. Maybe not before creation, like some say. There's different schools of thought, but that happened, and since then, no angels fall anymore, and that's it. But really, there's nothing to say that. So
right.
I remember, and I don't remember if it was for Into the Multiverse or I think it was for the main Skywatch program. But I asked him, "Do you believe angels can still fall today?" And he said, "Well, there really is nothing in the Bible to suggest that it was a one-time thing and that it can't happen."
Right, yeah.
And you brought up, I know when we were talking about this before, you brought up that it would make sense they would still have free will.
Well, yeah, because in the Bible it does tell us not to worship these things.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that might be like a temptation to them?
It's a possibility. I mean, if they have the free will, and even Satan, Lucifer had free will. And he had an idea one day that he wanted to be better than God, not his right-hand man, but he wanted to be above God. So why wouldn't these things still have that mentality?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't angels still have that thought? Like, it's still possible. It didn't just begin and end with Satan.
Right.
And he convinced other angels to follow him. So I don't see why not.
It's possible that they still might have the ability to fall if they want. I can't imagine why they would want to, but I
don't know.
They're like Mike Heiser said, there's nothing to suggest that it's impossible.
Right, exactly. One way or the other.
Exactly. Now we're going to be talking more about the fourth dimension, angels, demons, and Jesus. And how he fits into this whole discussion. Coming up next.
Save nearly half off the cover price when you subscribe now to the brand new Skywatch TV magazine. For a limited time, a 5-year subscription to Skywatch TV magazine is just $99. That's more than $75 off the cover price, which is like getting 2 years for free. Exclusive content, articles on prophecy, discovery, and the supernatural from Tom Horn, Chris Putnam, Josh Peck, science updates from Sharon K. Gilbert, geopolitics from yours truly, and guest writers like Pulitzer Prize-nominated journalist Troy Anderson, renowned Bible scholar Dr. Michael Heiser, Pentagon advisor Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis, and more. But there is more. As an early subscriber, you'll be the first to get this new book from Defender Publishing. I predict what 12 global experts believe you'll see by 2025. This is a $20 value and includes best-selling authors like Joel Richardson, Mark Biltz, Carl Gallups, Tom Horn, Paul McGuire, and more. Find out what they think about the coming war between ISIS and the Vatican, the future of the Temple Mount and the Ark of the Covenant, a worldwide manifestation of angels, and the coming age of human hybrids. And we'll also add this DVD, The Best of Skywatch TV 2015, a $25 value, including our most compelling interviews from last year, including Chuck Missler, Steve Quayle, the discussion of the Georgia Guidestones with Chris Pinto, and more. All of this together worth more than $200. Yours now for just $99. Subscribe now. Skywatch TV Magazine. Just call the number on your screen or log on to skywatchtvstore.com.
Welcome back to Into the Multiverse. We're talking about denizens of the fourth dimension. Now, I've speculated in books and different things that there was a fall. There are angels who have fallen already, yet we're told there's going to be a future type of falling where they're cast to the earth. I've always wondered what that was all about, but since getting into all this quantum physics stuff, I really think it's talking about dimensionality. I think it's talking about physicality. I think the first fall was to the fourth dimension. I think that when the angels left their first estate and, they fell from heaven in a sense, well, they're not here on Earth with us just yet. I mean, they can manipulate things and, they can breach our space and things, but they're not
roam
bodily
it,
here.
in a sense.
Yeah. So the fourth dimension to me would be the lowest dimension you could go
before
ours, before the third. And at some point in the future, they would fall from the fourth to the third to ours. So, I mean, of course, it's speculative, but there are other verses that we could look at. And actually, Jesus gives us an amazing, or actually, Jesus is used as an amazing example.
Yes, he is.
For this. I'll let you. I'll let you take that.
This is Hebrews chapter 2, verses 7 through 10. The first verse here is talking about man. Thou madest him a little lower than the angels. Thou crownedest him with glory and honor, and didst set him over the works of thy hands. Thou hast put all things in subjection under his feet, for in that he put all in subjection under him. He left nothing that is not put under him, but now we see not yet all things put under him. Verse 9 says, But we see Jesus, who was made a little lower than the angels for the suffering of death, crowned with the glory and honor, that he by the grace of God should taste death for every man. For it became him, for whom are all things, and by whom are all things, in bringing many sons unto glory, to make the captain of their salvation perfect through sufferings. This is very awesome to break this down, because it's talking about man. Yeah, we were made a little lower than the angels, but then we have dominion over the creeping things of the earth, like it says in Genesis. That's what's under us. We're going to get into this going back to the Greek and the Hebrew words. But this is, I love verse 10, for it became him.
Yeah, and we actually get a parallel, because the first part here, verse 7 or 8, I believe, is actually a quote, or there's a parallel verse in the Psalms. Psalm 8:5 says, For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. So, the cool thing about this, and I love it when the New Testament quotes the Old like that, because it gives us a source for both Greek and Hebrew, and we can get more of the story. If you go to blueletterbible.com, it's a great resource. You can look into the Strong's Concordance, and it basically tells you what the Greek or Hebrew word is and what it meant in those languages, and you can get some more information. So if we do that, if we go to blueletterbible.com and look at that word lower, as in he was made lower than the angels. Now in Greek, and I'm not a Greek scholar, so I'm sure I'm going to butcher this and pronounce it wrong. It looks like alatu. I'm sure that's wrong, but it says the definition of that Greek word: to make less or inferior in dignity, to be made less or inferior in dignity, to decrease in authority or popularity. And so this was something that we wondered. He was made lower than the angels, yet he still had authority over the angels.
He had authority over the angels.
How would lower mean authority then?
Yeah, if you go to verse 10, again, it said it became him.
Yeah.
He wasn't always like that.
Yeah, exactly. So he's coming from a place different than that.
Right.
So the cool thing about this is that, again, we can go back to the Hebrew, to that verse in Psalm, to get a little bit more information here. And again, I'm not a Hebrew scholar either, so it looks like Chaucer? I don't know. But it says to lack, to be without, decrease, be lacking, have a need, to lack, be lacking, to diminish, decrease, to cause to lack, to cause to be lacking. So he's lacking, he's missing something that he had. And again, authority doesn't seem to at least 100% fit, because again, he was made lower than the angels. If that just meant authority, then shouldn't it be the angels would have authority over him and not him over the angels? Yet he still had authority.
He did. He had authority, because talking about man in verses 7 and 8 there, we didn't come from anywhere else. We didn't become this.
That's right.
And
that's a good point.
Because it says that thou hast put all things in subjection under his feet.
Yeah.
And he left nothing. We didn't leave anything.
That's right.
We were made this way.
That's right.
But in verse 10 it said, for it became him, talking about Jesus. This is God in the flesh we're talking about.
Exactly.
He has power over all things.
Exactly.
And he stepped down. It became him.
So instead of thinking about this fully as authority, I think it might be talking about dimensionality,
Exactly,
physicality.
yes.
What else could it be that he lost, or that he would be lacking of?
It would be the physical,
that's
becoming
it.
flesh.
He's still God.
And he did it to die for us.
To die for us. Isn't that amazing?
And that's what, and it explains it all there.
Mm-hmm.
This is why he stepped down into physicality.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he became this.
Yeah.
It was to die for us, to make salvation perfect through all the sufferings.
It's absolutely amazing, and to think about, God, the creator of all things, doing that for us.
Yes, yes.
Coming from a place of beyond dimensions in space, beyond physicality, something, eternity is really the only word for it. Something we can't, I can't even get my head around one extra dimension of space. I can't picture that. I have no, but imagine being just even outside of however many dimensions there are, 11, 12, being outside of that and time.
Yeah.
Yet he stepped down from that to become a man, and again, a little lower than the angels. I believe, at least in part, means physicality. To be a three-dimensional biological human being, yet still God.
Yes.
To die for us.
Yes.
So we could be redeemed and spend eternity. He loved us that much.
Yep.
That he doesn't want to be eternally separated from us.
Yeah.
Mind-blowing.
It is amazing.
This also gets into something that we've talked about before, and I think this was another thing that I asked Mike Heiser on, and I believe this was on the main Skywatch TV program. Fallen angels versus demons, is there a difference? And I believe there is. I don't believe, and I was traditionally, I was brought up Baptist and all that, and just the traditional view is that fallen angels and demons are the same thing. I don't believe that anymore. And it's not just because of the Book of Enoch.
No.
Now, the Book of Enoch does clearly say that demons are the disembodied spirits of dead Nephilim, and fallen angels are something totally different from that. But years ago, I put together a presentation, and it was just something that I was doing at home. But I used biblical text, and again, just Blue Letter Bible, to show, you can show from the Bible without having to use the Book of Enoch that fallen angels and demons are different. They're different beings. Well, what do you think about all that?
I do feel, though, and not going off the Book of Enoch, because I feel like it's a biblical account. It is quoted in Jude. Yeah. So I can take it.
We're not trashing on the book or anything.
No, we're not.
It's a great book for historicity.
I feel like it's like the Book of Jasher, because they talk about the Book of Jasher in the Bible.
Yep.
It was their history book.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Book of Enoch is the same. And if Enoch is laying it out there that fallen angels and demons are different, I believe it, because the Nephilim were never supposed to be.
That's right.
So, and when it's something that's not supposed to be, and these things die, and there's no redemption for them.
Yeah.
Where does that soul, that thing that acted as the life force in
where does
them,
it go?
Where does it go?
Yeah, because hell was originally created for Satan and his angels.
Exactly.
Satan, angels, nothing about demons or
Nothing
evil spirits.
about demons.
They're obviously not going to go to heaven. So where else is there? And I believe, again, the fourth dimension, because where else?
Right.
And that brings up something interesting too. Now we believe that angels are extra dimensional. What about demons?
Yeah, those things. Oh,
if it's a spirit from a three-dimensional entity, like a giant, like one of the Nephilim, what would the spirit be? It can't just be three-dimensional, because it's not solid, and it's not. There's something, and I remember we were talking about that for a while, really trying to figure it out, because it didn't seem right that it would be extra dimensional either. And I think what we finally landed on was that they're interdimensional.
Yes.
They're sort of in between, being totally physical, but not being totally
Total
extra dimensional
spirit-
either. It's
yeah,
some kind
yeah.
of weird, but that's and I don't think we ever really got a good, solid, concrete theory or answer on that.
No,
but
because it's one of those subjects that people don't really talk about very much. Like, because a lot of people, they just marry the two, angels and demons. Oh,
Yeah.
same thing.
Well, and in the Bible, demons in the Old Testament, we read about like evil spirits. That's what they were called.
Yep.
You don't hear anything about evil spirits before Genesis 6.
No, you
hear
don't.
nothing about. And of course, it's only 6 chapters to work from. But if ever there was a time to mention something about evil spirits, I mean, wouldn't it be the
Yeah.
days of Noah before the flood?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a pretty rough time. But there's no mention of them. But after Genesis 6, that's when you start seeing evil spirits, and
Yep.
then it's just a constant problem.
Well, and these things that these the other stories about how they will inhabit a body or an object or something to feel the physicality again, or
Right.
like
Like demon possession
demon
and stuff like
possession.
that. Yeah.
to feel what that person feels.
And if the Book of Enoch is correct, that actually explains it, because the Book of Enoch says that these spirits, these evil spirits, these demons, that they will crave that. They'll always be thirsty but never be able to quench it. And they'll always be hungry
so
and never be able
that's
to.
why they would possess a human being to
Yeah.
eat or to to drink.
Yeah.
And a lot of these things that we see, like gluttony
Yeah.
and things like that, I feel like it could be a part of that.
Could be.
In some cases. I'm not saying all cases. Just some things could be linked to spiritual things like that.
Yeah, what a fascinating topic. We are running out of time, but before we close out the show, I do want to make you aware of a special offer that Skywatch TV is putting out on my books. Actually, if you're interested in this topic, well, really even the show, if you're interested in the show, then you can go to skywatchtvstore.com, pick up my 2 books, Quantum Creation, Cherubim Chariots. Quantum Creation is really more about applying the quantum physics stuff into the Bible and how there is actually quantum physics in the Bible, believe it or not. Cherubim Chariots is more about the demons, fallen angels kind of stuff. But both of those together you can get for $29.95, which is actually a pretty good deal because on my website I'm selling them for $19.99 a piece. So you'll want to go to skywatchtvstore.com to take advantage of that offer. Well, again, a great show. Once again, where can people find us online?
Besides YouTube, youtube.com / Into the Multiverse. You can go to skywatchtv.com. On the homepage, you can scroll down until you find that picture of Josh and I in Into the Multiverse. Click on it. Takes you right to our channel. Or on Roku.
Great. And if you are watching on Roku, make sure you look up Skywatch TV. We're under the Skywatch TV Roku channel. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, you can email me at jpeck@skywatchtv.com. Thank you all so much for joining us into the Multiverse today. And until next time, take care and God bless.